Hello, fanboys and girls, and welcome to the Fanboy Fight Club podcast, brought to you by Media Junkies. This is Media Junkies' flagship podcast. If you listened to our last episode, then you know what we're about. If you didn't, I suggest you go listen. First, I'm going to introduce you to the fanboys. You're going to find out really quick where the Fight Club part comes in. We tend to kind of get on each other's case quite a bit. So my job is to try to keep everybody in line. My name's Jason. I'm also the host of the Gimmick Minute Wrestling podcast, brought to you by Media Junkies. So we're going to go around the horn. I'm going to introduce you to the rest of the crew, and we're going to kind of just share some things that are on our mind. And then after that, we're going to get to the main event. So you can follow this show and everything else Media Junkies has to offer on our Instagram and Twitter at Media Junkie Vids. You can also check out all the YouTube content that we have at youtube.com/Media Junkie. And you can also make sure to subscribe to our channel if you have Apple Podcasts. Make sure you give us a 5-star review. Leave us some comments. Let us know how we're doing. Please tweet at us. Let us know what you think of the show. You can also let us know who you think wins the battles of each show as well at Media Junkie Vids on that Twitter. So let's go around the horn. Let's go ahead and start with Jamar. How you doing, man?
Oh, you start with me. Hey,
yeah.
What's up? How's the world going?
Good, man. How you doing?
Oh, I'm doing good. Doing real good.
I'm back from vacation, so I'm feeling good. So what's on your mind?
Well, I guess I am going to talk about the Zombieland 2 trailer. Did you guys see that?
I did.
About fucking time.
Yeah, I'm really, really pumped for it. The end of the trailer made me really happy. Like extremely happy.
But I think Mike was talking the other day about it, and I'm pretty sure it was Mike, but he said it's a missed opportunity to have Michael Cera in the movie.
Oh, that was me that I saw.
Yeah,
that.
definitely wasn't me.
Yeah, I saw a tweet or a Facebook comment or something that was like, I feel bad for Michael Cera not being able to play a doppelganger of Jesse Eisenberg doing his best Michael Cera impression. I thought that was pretty good.
I really hope there's more cameos in this movie. Like, last one really surprised me with Bill Murray, and I don't want to know him, so hopefully they keep him a secret, but I really hope there's some more cameos in this one.
I feel like whoever they have as the other Emma Stone has got to be a big name that nobody expects to be in a movie like this, because they didn't show that part, right? They just showed the other Tallahassee and the other.
Oh, it's going to be Lindsay Lohan. You know it.
God, no.
Oh.
Don't you dare. Don't you dare slander.
So the third member of their party is a zombie? Is that what you're saying?
Oh.
Oh, boy.
Oh, shit.
All right. So moving on from that, let's go with Mike. How you doing, man?
I'm good. How about you?
I'm good.
Seems so chill.
You sound like such a serial killer.
I'm
Good.
good. How
Laugh
are
too to
you?
go with it.
Yeah, you're
Alright,
like
so what's
hating
on
on
your
him
mind,
or wanting to cut him up and cook him. I can't tell.
I mean, it is grocery day, so why not?
Yeah. Oh, Jesus Christ. All right. Well, do you have anything to share? Or do you
yeah.
just wanna sound
So
creepy?
that lovely new Batman Hush movie that released this week was hot garbage, and DC should be ashamed of themselves and everything they touch.
I don't
and
really
let Warner
understand
Brothers touch.
why they changed the story, because like the comic is amazing, right? It's like a whodunit, and you're trying to figure out who this person is. Has a great twist at the end, and yeah, if you read the comic, you're gonna know how the movie goes. But that's what I wanted to see, because the comic is so good, you know.
So can we just take a minute and all appreciate the fact about what Mike just said? DC should be ashamed of themselves and everything they touch. He has finally learned his lesson. It took this long, but he finally learned it, guys.
Sorry,
I haven't
Batman
learned
versus
anything. I'm
Superman
still gonna
sucks.
watch all the garbage they put out. It doesn't matter.
Batman vs Superman sucks.
Honestly,
Your face sucks.
Again, I mean, I could be completely out of bounds with this, but as one of the resident Turtle fans, I feel like DC should just take over the Turtles after Batman vs Superman, or not Batman vs Superman, not Batman vs Superman. No, after Batman vs the Turtles, I feel like Disney, or God, my brain is just not working. Nickelodeon is kind of like not doing a great job, in my opinion. with the franchise, and that'd be cool to see.
What? Rise of the
maybe
Ninja
someone else
Trolls is great. Fuck you.
Yeah, sure.
Wait, is it actually great? I haven't watched it.
Actually,
No,
it's not
not.
terrible. It's not great, but it's definitely not terrible.
I didn't
It's
want to
terrible.
hijack this topic, but I know why, Jake, you love it, because they're using the actual turtle traits.
All right, so somehow we went from talking about how bad Hush was to talking about the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. So let's rein it back in. Wes, how about you? What's on your mind?
What's going on, man? I'm not a serial killer like Mike. So something huge that I think is really cool. Oh my god, I'm gonna die tonight. Something really cool that was announced. Regal Unlimited. So I understand that Regal movie theaters are probably the shittiest movie theaters out there. But hear me out. Hear me out. $18 a month. I can see every movie I want to see. I can see as many movies as I want in one day, just within a 90-minute interval. That's pretty fucking great.
Wow.
Hey, I'll suffer sitting in a shitty ass theater that's freezing to go see movies for $18 a month.
I'm so glad that you pointed that out though about the Regal, because I was gonna say the only downside of the plan is going to Regal. So I'm glad you said it.
And I mean, I'm surrounded by Regals where I'm at. There's 5 within like a 20-minute time drive. You know.
So is it 90 minutes from the end of the movie you saw, or just from the
No.
other ticket time?
It's 90 minutes from the ticket time. So if I purchase a ticket, I
Okay.
can't buy another ticket for another 90 minutes. So basically, I can't walk into a movie and be like, "This movie's fucking garbage," Lion King, and walk out and go to another movie. You know.
Right. Okay.
And it's pretty cool because they allow you to select 3 future tickets. So I was already looking at tickets. Like I can buy a ticket for Scary Stories in the Dark already, have that ready to go, plus 2 more, and I can still go to theater and buy movie tickets, which is cool.
All right.
So Mike's actually going to go see Scary Stories, which is a huge thing because he hates horror movies. So I'm proud of him.
I'm proud of him too. I would drive all the way to Arizona and give you, but then I have to be in Arizona, and I'm not trying to die by the sun.
Hey man, our mountain's only caught on fire once so far.
Don't tell people where you live, Mike. It's the internet.
Oh my god. Yeah, because Arizona's a pretty small state. It'll be easy to find.
There's only a couple places in Arizona that can have a forest fire. All right.
Yeah, you only have to find the guy that goes, "Hi, my name's Mike. How are you?"
Yeah, you want to hunt down the serial killer because that's,
Right. Yeah. Just hang around
smart
CD
idea.
locations. It'll work.
All right. So let's switch gears here. Let's get into the main event. I hit everybody, right?
You forgot Jake.
All right.
Wow.
Hi, everybody.
Oh
Hi,
no,
guys.
I didn't. Jake's just talked so much. I guess I thought I hit him.
Just assumed that he was already a part of it.
My
Damn,
fault, Jake. My
you
fault,
forgot
Jake.
Mike last week, Jake this week. What kind of host are you?
I know, right?
One with
Well,
Alzheimer's.
it was me that forgot Mike. Oh well, I think whatever.
You forgot me during the fucking actual real part of the show.
I'm the grandpa
time
of the
to wrap
group.
it up.
I got memory issues. It's all good. All right, Jake. Let's hear it. What you got?
Yeah, no, I just kind of wanted to say, I follow a lot of different esports, and not all of them are my favorite, but I try to keep in and up on the scene and everything. And major thing happened this weekend. For those that don't know, the Fortnite World Cup happened, and as much as I might dislike that game, or at least the competitive scene of that game, they handed out this weekend over $30 million in prizes for one tournament, playing one game. The guy who won it, his name's Bugha, I believe it's Bugha, got $3 million. The second place guy named Psalm, who I actually have followed him for a while because he used to play a game called Here's the Storm competitively. He won like $1.2 million for getting second. Like, this is insane. This sets like a huge precedent, and is essentially Epic Games throwing the hammer at like every other competitive gaming scene, saying if you can't match us, people are going to run away from you and they'll just go and play Fortnite. Like, it's kind of unprecedented and impressive all at once.
So you're just saying,
So wait, did they rip off the kid? Because I thought originally they said their prize was 30 million.
30 million was the entire prize pool.
Oh wow, that's
So
a
out of
shitty way to
all
advertise
the,
it.
yeah, well, that's actually how a lot of places do. So like, if you look
Yeah.
at the World Cup, everyone talks about like, not to get political, but there's a lot of politics around the female World Cup, and they were saying that how like pricing and income versus prize pool, and they were saying that like the winners get the prize pool. No, the winners only get a fraction of the prize pool. Anytime you see the word prize pool, that is the entire amount of earnings they're giving out for that.
And that's kind of how
So,
gambling works too. Like they always have like this is how much you could win, but then it's broken down into different tiers. So I can see how competitive gaming would kind of fall under the same.
right. Yeah.
I guess,
So
idea.
you're saying this guy is just good at building, essentially?
Yeah,
he's
pretty much.
good at everything. He's
So-
legitimately good at everything that you can do in that game.
So he's a Minecraft master.
yeah.
No, my question, and this is like
So
a
the thing is, though,
legit
to win the
question, though.
tournaments, you have to be aggressive. Like it kills count. You know, you can't just hide the whole time. So like it's not just building. Like it's a big part of it. But
As a throwback to last week, what's Fortnite?
fork knife. Yeah, I know.
Fortnite. No, I just was wanting to know, like, because it was 30 million. Was that like, does he get paid out in V-Bucks or does he actually get real cash?
It is real money. It is real money.
Okay.
I would not be surprised if he doesn't get some like weird V-Buck stuff,
That's
or like
funny.
rewards in game, or they'll probably make a skin, whatever skin he wants or something. I'm sure for being the first World Cup winner.
That could be cool.
So,
That'd be cool.
A foreskin. All right,
Yes.
so that pretty much rounds it out. Now I was surprised nobody brought up the Marvel Phase 4 announcement. So let me get quick takes on that real quick from you guys.
Cool.
Yeah.
Fucking Blade. I mean, that definitely, I feel like stole the show, and there's a lot of cool shit coming. But
So I'm going to
God.
say something, and I don't want it to sound like I'm not excited for it, but it 100% feels like a victory lap. Like,
Oh yeah.
I'm
mean, that's
excited
what
for
it
all the
is.
movies and everything like that, but they're just like, we can do whatever the fuck we want now, and they're just like, oh, here's a multiverse movie with Doctor Strange. Oh, here's Natalie Portman coming back to be female Thor. Like,
Lady Thor.
All of our
Yeah.
actors are going to voice this animated series.
right?
There are a lot of great announcements. Hands down, I think the one I'm most excited for easily is Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, because I'm so excited to see what the fuck they do with that.
It's also through the interviews and everything, the guy who directed the first Doctor Strange, I believe, and is definitely directing the next one, also directed The Conjuring, I believe, and The Exorcism of Emily Rose. So he has his horror chops. And he said that Marvel is giving him a lot more freedom with that aspect of the MCU. So everyone's calling it the first MCU horror movie, essentially.
All right.
Did he
It's how
direct
they're
that
advertising.
movie with the Ewan McGregor or whatever, with the ghoul that would come out of like pictures? Or the Sinister? Yeah, he did Sinister.
I thought it was Conjuring. It could be Sinister, though. Or it was
Conjuring was James Wan.
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay,
James
so
Wan.
it's Sinister. They're the same fucking thing.
Pretty much.
All right. Okay. All right. So let's move on to our main event of the evening. Well, I guess it's evening for us. I don't know what time you're listening to this, but the main event nonetheless. So HBO showed off a pretty big trailer for the Watchmen series that's going to be coming out. So the group kind of got to wondering what nerd property would make a good HBO series. So tonight we're going to find out. Now, this battle, if you guys didn't listen to the last show, I still suggest you go back and check it out. But basically, the way we do it is three of us are going to basically come up with the property that we want to make into the HBO series, and we're going to state our cases. And then we're going to have a round where we basically shit on the ideas of the other two. And then after that, we're going to have a round where we kind of defend our topic against them. And then we're going to kind of close it out with a strong argument. So we have three people presenting their topic today. Then we also have two judges. Both Wes and Jamar were both kind of hurt that they didn't win last week. So since they,
I mean,
since they were a little butthurt, they decided they want to sit this week out. So even though I was on vacation, I decided to man up and come up with a quick topic and kind of get it all together. And then Mike is going to return and Jake's going to make his battle debut as well. So I'm going to go ahead and pass this off to Jamar and Wes, and they're going to set everything up, and we're going to get started. Go ahead, fellas.
All right. Get started.
All right. So first off, Jamar, before you start, way to piss off the judges. Way to piss off the judges before you begin.
Maybe I just needed to build an excuse for when I lose. It's some meta thinking on my part.
All right.
Definitely
All right,
Just
Jamar.
be prepared for this fight.
I'm going to take a back seat, Jamar. You lead the shit, and I'm going to judge harshly.
All right. So the rules are simple. Each fanboy. Wait, you said that already, didn't you?
I did. Yeah, I broke the rules down. But if you want to give everybody a recap, go ahead.
Nah, it's all right. So we're just gonna start with the first round. This one is an open round. You get to express as long as you possibly can. Please don't make it extremely long. And then the next 2 rounds, we'll do 30 seconds to defend your point. And
multiple seasons.
oh boy! All right, so let's get it started. First up, we have Mike introducing his property and making your case. Go ahead, man.
All right, so my HBO series, it was a movie that was decent, but definitely could use some love. I'm going to go and turn Scott Pilgrim into a 6-season TV series with HBO. I'm going to have the first season just kind of setting everything up. You meet Scott and all of his friends and everyone in Sex Bomb. He meets Ramona. You get to explore their relationship a little bit. And then by the end of season 1, the final episode is when you meet Matthew Patel and they have the big battle and he explains how the evil X's work, leading you into the next season. This will go on and will actually, all 6 seasons will follow this 6 individual books rather than try to cram everything into a 2-hour movie. As far as casting goes, for Scott Pilgrim, I've got Justice Smith. For Ramona Flowers, I'm going to butcher her name, but Cameron Bicadova? I don't know, she was Catwoman on Gotham. For Wallace, I've got Hale Appleman. Knives Chow, I've got Lana Condor. For Stacy Pilgrim, Scott's sister, I have Alessandra Torresani. I've got, for Matthew Patel, we've got Hassan Majani. Lucas Lee is going to be played by Zachary Montgomery. MV Adams is going to be played by Lily James. Todd Ingram is going to be played by Robbie Amell. Roxy Rich is going to be played by Emma Mackey. And then in the final season, you'll get to meet Gideon, who is going to be played by Taron Egerton.
Okay. I got a name out of there that I like.
I'm glad that there was one out of the 10 I listed.
Well, is that the end of your case?
That's going to be the end of my case.
Okay.
All right. Good job, man. Good job. And even though you named like 30 people, it wasn't that long. So good job. Next up, we have Jason making his case for his nerd property. Go ahead, man.
I muted everybody while Mike was talking. My bad. I'm back.
I thought you died.
No, I was saying too. I was like, well, at least Mike didn't write an entire script like he did last time. So
we
no
do
one else
have
put
to
that much
worry.
effort, so I was like, not worth it.
We do have to worry about Jason having a heart attack on the show. So there is
true.
a case for worry there.
Or
Oh, there was one thing I did forget. The
oh god, your time's up. Your time's up.
The Catawagani
That's fair. That's fair.
played by Daft Punk. That's
Save it for the next round. Nope. Time's up. Shut up.
That's fair.
Nobody heard you.
Disregard anything Mike just said. I lied, me and Wes.
I object.
All right,
guys.
Jason.
All right, pull it together. Come on, Jason. Go ahead and
All
give
right,
us your
all right, cool. All right, so I did kind of struggle to put something together because I did have a nice 11-hour drive ahead of me today, and I kind of decided to do this last minute. At first, I thought I was actually going to try to do a TV show series of the Suicide Squad because I thought it would make kind of a compelling thing.
Barf.
And there's a big, huge cast list that we could go through and things like that. But that kind of ended up being my problem. The cast is a little too big. So what I ended up doing, I kind of took a movie that the movie actually was a cult classic, and then there was a sequel that came out that completely bombed, and it wasn't that good at all. And I chose Boondock Saints as my movie that I'd like to turn into a HBO series. And the reason why is just because there is, even though it's kind of a shorter movie, there's a lot to work with there, and there's some different things that you can do with it. I think if you get the right casting done, even though the cast and everything was so perfect for the original movie, but if you look at some different aspects of the movie, like McGinty's bar, for instance, the bar that they originally are just trying to save, and that kind of starts the whole thing. That can kind of be their main hub and kind of where they congregate and come up with all the different plans of who they're going to attack and what they're going to do, who they're going to go after. And then Doc, who was the bartender, could actually be more like kind of like a character that maybe plays dumb, but he's actually the head of the entire operation. So you can kind of modernize it a little bit and have somebody coordinating, where they're going, who they're going after, and of course you got that Rocco character who's kind of leading them in the right direction because he's their man on the inside. And there's just a lot that I think that could be done there. So that's why I wanted to go with Boondock Saints. I think it could be a fun show if it's done right. Casting wise, I tried to find some people that kind of fit the personalities a little bit, and also people that kind of like worked well with the characters that already existed. For Connor and Murphy, for Connor, I went with Jeremy Allen Wright, who actually plays Lip on Shameless. And Murphy, I went with Devin Bagby, who actually plays a Connor actually on oh my gosh, Ray Donovan. Sorry. So he's the son on Ray Donovan. So again, kind of a younger cast. For Agent Paul Smecker, even though William Dafoe did a great job, I thought we'd go with Hank Azaria for that role, just because he has that kind of eccentric and he can kind of bring that personality out that William Dafoe did in the movie. El Duce, who ended up being their father kind of towards the end, I thought Liam Neeson might be a good role for that because he's already Irish. He's got that accent. He has that badass tendency to him, but maybe kind of make his role a little bit different. Like maybe, he already knows who they are and maybe kind of works more with them, even though, they, the other side kind of like the mob bosses and stuff like that might think that he's an assassin going after the Saints. He's actually working with them on the back end instead of it being kind of a surprise. For Detective Duffy, I picked Dominic Lombarzi. He's actually currently on. He was on last season's episode of Ray Donovan. He's got that kind of Irish accent. He's played some cop roles in a couple other shows and movies, so I thought he'd be a good role for it. I went with Jason Segel for Detective Greenlee, just because I haven't seen Jason Segel in a lot of things, and I thought he kind of has that goofiness, and he's kind of that tall, lanky guy, so I thought he could play that role pretty well. For Doc, who's the bartender, I went with Liam Cunningham, who Game of Thrones fans will know him as Sir Davos. And for Yakavetta, the crime boss, I went with Christopher Walken because I wanted somebody that was kind of had that like intimidating voice that could be very stern, but at the same time kind of be funny without trying, which that character is. And then for Vincenzo, who was originally played by oh my gosh, what's that porn star's name? Why am I blanking all of a sudden? Ron Jeremy. Ron Jeremy. He was originally played by Ron Jeremy. So I wanted kind of like a dirty, slimy kind of guy. Originally, I thought Danny DeVito, but then I was like, you know what? Let's dust off Jason Alexander. I think he can kind of play that role and have that kind of like fat, balding, like grimy guy that's just kind of like the right hand to the mob boss. So that's my cast and the show premise set up. So I'm going with Boondock Saints.
All right, man. You did a pretty good job. It was, not to say it in a mean way, but it's a lot better than what I expected.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Not in a bad way, no, because when you said Boondock Saints, I was like, where can he go with this?
Yeah.
So that was impressive.
I mean, do we need to quote the group chat where you straight up said, I mean, let's be honest, Jason's not going to be coming up with anything like too out of the box?
Well, speaking of out of box, we have someone up next, Jake, who I totally assumed it was going to be something super obscure, but go ahead and state your case, man.
All right, yeah. So I kind of went the different route. Mike went kind of a comic book / already a movie. Jason went already a movie. I'm going to go with a video game property that I think will fill the exact role that HBO is looking for. We no longer have Game of Thrones, so we need another high fantasy. Amazon Prime has got the Lord of the Rings show coming out, so you have to compete with that too. So give Warcraft a second shot at something. I'm telling you right now, TV show, you can easily do 7 seasons, at least, if you just want to stick with the World of Warcraft timeline. And you don't want to get into Warcraft 1, 2, or 3, which are also very good stories. But at its peak, World of Warcraft had 12 million subscribers. Like, that's an already instant fan base. That's, at its peak, at its prime, which was 2010. So I do realize we're about 10 years away from the prime. But I think that's the perfect time to remind people how good the stories were. And then as they get to the crappier expansions, we can change it, But So you could either do it live action or CG, because Blizzard, their cinematic department that makes the cinematics for all the expansions that come out and everything like that is one of the best. Like, they are so powerful. Every time there's a new expansion pack, they release teasers here and there, and they're just fantastic, and they get you pumped up for it. You know, like for the last one, the Battle for Azeroth, there's just that huge battle between the Horde and the Alliance, and you know, Anduin casts, you know, his all of his spells, and just there's an awesome, and then he has that moment of like, for the Alliance, and then you get the Banshee herself, Queen Sylvanas, yelling for the Horde, and it just gets you pumped if you're a fan. But I think if you can roll out the story correctly, you can get people who aren't a fan of it into it just purely based on the fact that you can advertise it like a Game of Thrones, to fill that void. So as for a cast, you know, it kind of depends on where you're going with it. If you're doing CG, keep all the same voice actors. Just keep it the same. They're all fantastic. If you wanted to do a modified live action, here'd be my cast. So I would have Ron Perlman as Magni Bronzebeard, who's the king of the dwarves. He would just have that gravitas and that voice to it. You can make him short. That's fine. They did it with the hobbits, so they can do it with him. You would have Willem Dafoe as Geblin Mechatork, who is the leader of the gnomes. So it would definitely probably be more of a voice and definitely like a CG character, because unless they want to make really, really tiny gnomes somehow. So Queen Ajara, who's used to be a highborn elf and is now a Naga. She could be played by Angelina Jolie, because I feel like she has features that are of a very like night elf look, and then also you can turn her into a Naga very easily, and she could still have those sharp features shine through. Varian Wrynn, who's the king of the Alliance overall, would be Christian Bale. I just think he could bulk up. He would look great in that armor. He can grow his hair out. He's known for his transformative roles, so I'm sure he could get in good enough shape to play it. For Gen Greymane, when we get to the Worgans a couple seasons in, you would cast Robert Downey Jr. Because he is a werewolf. They're Worgan, but it is essentially a werewolf. But they definitely have that more of an accent that he already gets down in Sherlock Holmes, and he. You could age him up a little bit, because Gen Greymane is that wiser, older advisor type role. So for the current war chief, Sylvanas Windrunner, the leader of the undead and the Banshee herself, I would say Jessica Biel, just because she has the perfect look for that type of thing, and you can see her, being very close and related to who would be Tyrande Whisperwind, which would be Mila Jovovich. I could keep going on and on. I do think for some of the orcs, I think Vin Diesel would be a great Garrosh. You have I think you could have Edward Norton as Illidan, or Malfurion, Scarlett Johansson as Jaina Proudmoore. I could keep going on. There's so many characters, but that just shows you how deep the story is, right? And I think it's prime time for a good Warcraft show.
All right. I will definitely say Jake has picked the nerdiest out of the three properties, but to be honest, I thought I was gonna like laugh about that, but my buddy I work with talks about Warcraft all the time and tries to like explain the story, and it really is kind of like it's interesting, but I don't want to play it. So
it is by far one of the best, fantasy epics. You have everything you could ever want in it,
except on gameplay. All right, next. So we're gonna go to round
story-wise,
two.
Yeah.
Each person gets another turn in round two. This is going to be limited to 30 seconds. So we had some fun with this last episode of us trying to squeeze out everything, and I think we're gonna have Jason go first.
All right. So who's keeping track of the 30 seconds?
You want to do it, Wes?
I got it.
So
right, which round are we doing first here? Defend
we're doing the fuck
or attack?
Fuck everyone else.
Fuck
So
you.
this is the attack.
All right. Let me know when you're ready.
30 seconds.
I'm ready.
On the
All right.
clock.
And go.
All right, first of all, Mike, yours was so compelling, I had to text Shamar to ask him what your show was again. So I honestly forgot, not going to lie. Last week, it seemed like you Googled popular actors and put them as your cast. I think this week you Googled most obscure actors and put them as your cast, because I don't think I've heard of any of those people. Jake, as far as yours go, I want you guys to picture the fat dude in the South Park
5 seconds.
episode who sits there with one hand on the keyboard. That's Jake's audience. Nobody's watching that show. The movie sucked.
Time.
He went for the throat. Like not even like, hey, I don't know if this will work. I don't know how they'll create this. He just went straight for the throat on there. Like, God. Oh man.
my God. Poor Jake's audience right now. I was like, I'm turning this shit off.
I literally just
Mom, get the pan. I got a shit.
wait. I literally just said I have a friend who plays Warcraft and tells me about this story. Sorry, Ryan. All right.
Hey, it's about winning, right?
It's true. This is all war. All right. So up next we have Jake. Are you ready?
Yeah.
All right, and go.
All right. First of all, Jason, the '90s reboot was last episode, not this episode. So fuck you, and you don't need to bring back Boondock Saints 2. The second one was not that good, so we don't need to make it a long series about it. And Mike, why touch something that was good? The Scott Pilgrim movie was perfect, and Daft Punk doing the soundtrack. Fuck you, it's a punk rock movie. You could maybe get them as the Yaganagi twins, maybe.
I literally that's what I said.
You said soundtrack.
And
Mike,
time.
You're not allowed to talk.
I'm sorry.
30 seconds.
It's not my fault. He got his facts wrong.
Let's rewind the clock. Jake, you got 5 seconds left. Go.
Fuck Mike, and you don't mess with perfection. You cannot beat
Time.
Edgar Wright's.
Time.
Wow.
This is fun. This is so fun. All right, Mike. He's actually penalized 5 seconds. No, I'm joking. 30 seconds on the clock for Mike.
And Mike, get ready, set, go.
All right, first off, Jason, I'm not going to waste a whole lot of time on you. The movie was already good. We don't need a series. You're wasting everyone's time, and I kind of fell asleep, so I don't even know who was your cast. As far as Jake goes, I mean, come on now, Warcraft? That movie fucking did lower box office than Justice League. I mean, what are you thinking? That doesn't need to be a series. Hell, and your cast, Jessica Biel, a Seventh Heaven reboot would get more views than Warcraft series. Like, what the fuck are you thinking? And even then, you made fun of me last week for having all these big names. Half your cast, Christian Bale, Angelina Jolie. It's like you found a bunch of people from 20 years ago.
Oh, man. This is like, I think the first episode we were trying to be like strategic, but now we're just like, fuck you and everything you stand for.
Oh, I'm waiting for when I started doing it, and people are like, "Fuck your children! I hate your children! My kids aren't involved in this."
Oh man!
All right.
So that round definitely stood up to the fuck everyone else name. So let's go on to round 3, which I gave it a name, and I'm gonna use it. Don't come for me. So this is where we're gonna defend. 30 seconds back on the clock, and we have Jake up first.
All right, Jake, go.
All right, so the movie one of the biggest complaints about the movie was how crunched it was, how fast it had to move, and how much information it had to fit in. If you stretch it out into a series, it would be amazing. And that movie did not come out at the height of Game of Thrones. It was kind of gaining traction, but now you have people itching for fantasy. They want Game of Thrones. They want Lord of the Rings. Give them Warcraft. It's perfect timing, and it would be amazing. I'm done.
Okay. All right. Done. All right. Saving us time. I like you. Okay.
Up next, we have Mike.
All right, Mike. Get ready. Set. Go.
I mean, you can say that Scott Pilgrim was perfection. It was far from perfection. They took 6 books, tried to jam it all into one movie. It was really good, but it could be so much better, especially if you spread out over time. I mean, especially if you can still bring back Edgar Wright. I mean, there's no one saying you can't. I mean, it's HBO series. They do what the fuck they want. And also, as far as saying people want fantasy right now with Game of Thrones being over, have you not seen the internet? People are pissed about that shit. You need to fucking avoid it for a while. I'm done.
All right.
Mike doing some defense and offense. All right, up next and last, we have Jason.
And go.
All right, I like how Mike's only insult was the fact that that he fell asleep during mine, but that was my insult towards him. So way to just turn around and use that back. As far as Jake said, the '90s reboot was last week. Yeah, I know that. Hey, yeah, the second movie did suck. Hence the reason for the reboot. The reboot reboots it all. It basically takes the storyline and stretches it out, and it gives you a basis to work with. So you have the creativity to use the characters and what was in the property to create this show. So that's the whole point. That's what we're doing.
All right.
Fair
All right,
enough,
Mark, go. Now we go into, now they got to sell it, like last thing.
I just like that Jason used up the extra time me and Jake left behind.
We knew it would happen.
He said time. I got 30 seconds in.
He said time, and you kept going like 3 more times.
And then we burned 40 seconds talking about it. So we got closing, right? Is that what you said, Wes?
Yeah, we got closings.
All right. Closings is going to allow you, or with closing will allow you to speak as much as you need, but still make it brief. And first, we have Jake.
All right. So I want to...
Wait. I'm sorry. Nope, Jake, you don't go first.
That's fine.
that was last round.
Man.
I'm sorry.
Damn, you said La La Land.
Yes, Jason. Okay.
I thought Don't Come For Me was the closing. But
No, Don't Come For Me is the defend yourself after getting shit on.
All right.
Yeah.
All timers.
Okay. Well, I won't take up too much time in the closing. I basically took a property that is in desperate need of a reboot that definitely would fit the HBO format of, one, being kind of a crime drama, two, having the liberty of like having a lot of violence, which people love, and it takes place in South Boston, which people love shows and movies that take place in South Boston. They love the accents. Just look at the success other shows and movies have had. The Departed comes to mind, as well as Ray Donovan, and just about any other thing that Ben Affleck does. It doesn't really matter. It's in a great location. It has compelling characters, and it has a story that you can build off of and you can expand and you can have some fun with. You just need somebody that'll take the creative license and just go to town. There's a ton of different crime families out there. There's a ton of different mob bosses. There's a ton of different people that they can kill. You just have to find creative ways to make it happen. Throw in some nudity and some gratuitous sex while you're at it. Throw in a lot of F words, and damn, you got a great show. Let's make it.
That was a pretty good closing. You said you didn't really have. I feel like
it also wasn't brief at all.
Yeah, I know. But
so keep it brief. By brief, I mean a minute and a half.
I just got rolling. I couldn't stop. Once the train's on the tracks, it keeps going.
He got nudity in his head, and he had to get there.
I was falling asleep here, but then you said the word nudity, and I perked right up.
Yeah.
Wes was on his Twitter.
Oh boy,
That's a different kind of duty.
Yeah, I'm looking at what Mike's liking.
All right. Let's go with we'll save Mike for last. Go ahead, Jake.
All right. So, I just want to thank Jason for covering the entire, why you should reboot something so I don't have to cover it. But I mean, it's just the perfect timing. Mike might, try to say that it's not because everyone's mad about Game of Thrones. That's when you give them something good. If people were worried about, the viewership being upset by Game of Thrones, they wouldn't be making a Lord of the Rings show. They know when to strike when the iron's hot. You don't give it a few years to let it cool down. And I'm just going to go on the offensive here right now. When Jason says Boston movies, the first one that comes to mind is The Town, and that movie fucking blew. It sucked. I'm sorry. Nobody wants to watch a bunch of people talk about where the khakis are. If I wanted to hear that, I would go back and work at a zoo where I'm just surrounded by khakis.
Fuck are khakis?
The fuck?
That's how Boston people say car keys.
Where are my khakis?
Well, because it's a terrible accent from a terrible city.
My khakis.
And everyone from Boston no longer listens.
Yeah, I've met some people from South Boston. They're pretty nice.
So let's see. We've eliminated fat nerds and people from Boston.
God, our viewership
This is going good.
By the minute. All right, Mike. We saved you for last. Let's see who you can offend.
I mean, there's a large group I could offend, but I'm going to try
on,
not to
Mike.
this time around.
Fuck your kids. No, I'm well, there goes everybody with children.
Joke's on you. They're too busy bitching about the lines at Disneyland. So as far as like reboots go, I mean, I didn't realize that this was about rebooting something. This was just like, oh, if you had the opportunity to make an HBO series, you didn't have to choose something that needed it. You just had to choose something that would turn out good with it. And you've got Boondock Saints. I mean, that didn't leave people wanting more. That's why the second one was shit and no one liked it. They were satisfied with the first one. World of Warcraft, I mean, that movie was fucking awful, and those fans aren't going to trust anyone with that property anymore. Scott Pilgrim, the number one thing people wanted was a Scott Pilgrim 2, and we never got it. So here's your opportunity. You get 6 fucking seasons of Scott Pilgrim. And as far as people needing a fantasy series right now, Lord of the Rings was announced way before Game of Thrones ended, so you can't use that as like, oh yeah, striking while the iron's hot. And they haven't even announced anything except for who the fuck is producing it. It's still super in pre-production. It'll be fucking 2025 before we see that shit. So as it's out of all of them, Scott Pilgrim's the only one people still want more of, and there's no sense in having Warcraft or Boondock Saints as an HBO series.
Damn. Okay.
Got it. Cool.
Oh, that's it. You're done.
Yep.
All right, Wes. It's our
Yeah.
turn. We're gonna judge. I guess we should give each other just a few seconds to kind of say your piece. Do you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. So I do have parts on every single person's choice this week. First, I'm disappointed everyone picked something that already has a movie. I was expecting something more along the lines of like Saga or something that doesn't have a movie or a TV show or something already done that needs to be rebooted or anything like that. But hey, there were some great choices here, so I'll go through them. Mike, I'm going to start with you. Scott Pilgrim vs. the World as a TV show. I get it. 6 episodes. You know, we got season 1, and it's going to follow the 6 individual books. Scott Pilgrim being Justice Smith. I mean, that's the kid from fucking Jurassic World: Fallen Kingdom. Not a big fan of the casting choice there. Honestly,
Detective Pikachu, come on now.
well, yeah, he's Detective Pikachu too, but he's not that good, to be honest with you. And honestly, I don't really know who some of the other people are. So I'm just going to throw out there. Taron Egerton as Gideon. I like that a lot. I like Taron Egerton a lot. And there is a lot of story to tell there. And you're right. This movie did kind of rush everything. Like Knives' dad, for example, is not in the movie. He'd be a great person to put in the show. So there is a lot to tell there. I don't think it needs 6 seasons. You said 6 seasons, right?
Yes, one for each book.
I don't think each book would last an entire season. Those books are not very big books. They're easy reads, for the last one's a little long. Jason, Boondock Saints into a TV series. Not going to lie, this is the one that I think would be the least of my choices. So they had a second movie, and it was hot garbage. It was one of the worst movies I've ever seen, which would make
I don't disagree with you.
which would make me worry that they don't know how to write a 2-hour sequel. How the hell are they going to write 8 hours of television? Although I did like your casting choices, Hank Azaria is a great choice. I feel that he's underutilized in every movie and TV show right now. He deserves to be in more. And I appreciate you telling me where the people are from, because Mike just said a bunch of names, and I had no idea what half of those people were in. So I do appreciate that, so I can start thinking of the property and be like, who is that? Oh, okay, cool. Jake, Warcraft, real quick. TV show. 7 seasons if you want to stick to the Warcraft timeline. Totally get that. You did state that there's 12 million subscribers built into the fan base. Hardly any of them showed up to the movie. Okay, so you're saying there's already a fan base built in. There's not, because they didn't show up to the movie. And I'm offended that you stated that.
Can I clarify something real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
The movie was not based on World of Warcraft, by the way. It was based on
Just
Warcraft.
Yeah.
So there is a gap there, by the way.
Okay. I'm offended you also stated the town sucked. I like that. With that said, I think that your idea would work best as an HBO property, as there's a lot of story to tell there. Now, I don't know a lot of the story. I did play the game for 2 months and I stopped playing, but I'd be interested to see kind of what's going on in the story. And people are looking for the next epic. And Mike's right. It could be Lord of the Rings. It may not be. Who knows? And I think Warcraft would actually be a very successful HBO property if done right. So that's going to be my choice for the week.
Woo!
Woo! Okay. All right. So I'm gonna say what my piece. It's gonna start off with something directed to Wes. I fucking love you, because I don't know, like, if somehow our sperm or your dad's sperm and my dad's sperm.
What is going on here?
Just hear me out. Hear me out. We are somehow related in some way. Our minds are somehow joined and connected because a lot of the points you made, I was just checking them off the list like, fuck, I was going to say that. Fuck, I was going to say that. So I'll kind of do a brief version. So as far as Boondock Saints, the cast you have, Jason, is pretty cool. I mean, getting some people in there from Shameless or getting Flip or Lippin from Shameless, that's awesome. He should be in more stuff. I don't understand. But to me, the task was a nerdy property, and I don't necessarily put Boondock Saints in like the nerdy category. Cult classic, sure, but that's just my opinion. Mike, Scott Pilgrim, the movie was awesome. Again, I'm kind of with Wes. I don't know if it needs to be blown. I feel like we should just get another movie and possibly more movies because I feel like it works in like, hey, I can watch this 2 hours, boom, come out. Want more. I feel like doing
The problem is they wrapped everything up, so there's no like they can't expand on stuff that was in between because they already went from start to finish. If you do a movie,
that's fair. That's fair. That's a fair point. Then don't make it a TV show. I don't know. I just
start your own argument.
I just feel like the casting was already perfect. I, unlike Wes, enjoy what's his name, Justice, whatever the fuck. Yeah,
Justin Smith.
Yeah, I actually think he's a great actor. He emotes really well. But yeah, whatever. Jake, I literally laughed when you sent me the message that said World of Warcraft, and I thought there's no way. But I also laughed and hated on a lot of people during the craze and hype of Game of Thrones because I thought this is the silliest and stupidest shit I've ever seen in my life. And I feel like Warcraft could actually be an actual series for HBO and give it something that it's missing. And I really feel weird saying this, but I agree with you. I agree with Wes. I feel like Warcraft would be what I would choose.
Oh yeah, first person to win both votes. I'm just gonna say it right now. 2 episodes in, my first fight, and I got both votes.
So I was completely thinking Wes was gonna go with Scott Pilgrim. And I was like, okay, I'm cool with choosing Jake. And then you chose Jake. And now I'm like, fuck. So he is our first unanimous winner.
And I do want to say, Wes, I put it in our chat, but for those who are not in it, I almost picked Saga. I love Saga so much, but the creator has gone on record so many times saying that he would never let it happen. He would never want it to be a movie, and he would never want it to be a TV show.
See,
and I know we're kind of just like fantasizing and everything like that, but I wanted to kind of take his belief into account for it. It just is kind of a show of respect to him. Yeah. So.
What? And I was if I was in here arguing, pick Saga, and I wasn't even going to do it as live action, animated TV show in the vein of, like the Love, Death, Robot TV show. Like the animations, really gritty, really in your face, and it'd be a weekly show for season 1, season 2, such. It would have been great.
But which episode of Love, Death, and Robots? Because they're all different animation styles.
I mean, you could pick the first episode that was out. I mean, Love, Death, and Robot was different for every subscriber. They were organized differently. So I don't even know what your first one is.
I do want to say something though.
Yeah.
Real quick. No one really made a case specifically for like why it should be on HBO, and I was just slightly disappointed. Just to point that out, like
I did.
I mean, sex, like gratuitous sex scenes and
violence and blood violence.
Yeah, but I mean, when I think of HBO, I think
all the HBO boxes.
Well, when I think of HBO, I think of week to week. I think of like coming back, like syndication. And
I did say that
I feel like either of these shows could have been on Netflix easily as well too.
I said that HBO needed to replace Game of Thrones, and they did a good job with the fantasy of Game of Thrones. So like, I feel like I did tie it into HBO. Like
Jason was like, "I want titties and dicks."
I mean, we're gonna get
blood.
We're definitely gonna get.
I want fucking so many cats to die.
Yeah, a cat has to die in every episode.
overall, though, you guys did make like great arguments for each property. So it was fun.
No, yeah, I think I want to commend all you guys. You guys all did a great job this week, especially having your properties really fleshed out, your people really fleshed out, and then your argument. Great. I cried at one point. I was laughing so hard. So great job. Participation awards for all of you.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
All right.
All
Jason
right.
in the
Take
shit.
your break though, because like either I cast well-known people and get shit on, or I cast people that you don't know and I get shit on. Like, man.
Well,
You'll get one, Mike. You'll get one.
no, you won't. All right. Anyway.
Go back to hosting.
So, Jake, I will. Thank you. Jake gets unanimous vote this week. Tell us by tweeting us at Media Junkie Vids. Let us know if you thought Jake should have won or if Mike or myself did a little bit better job. I'd like to say personally that, that I had some such short notice and I literally thought of all of this on my car ride back from North Carolina.
You had 10 hours of uninterrupted driving to think. That blows my mind.
Have you ever driven for 10 hours with 2 kids?
I drove 3
Just shove
days.
an iPad in their face.
No such thing as uninterrupted driving when you have children.
Shove an iPad in their face.
Yeah, whatever.
Which we all know you did.
That doesn't always work. But anyway,
So cute.
I digress. Congratulations, Jake. That was a good argument. I honestly can't hate on it. I mean, it honestly does check the boxes. And as much as I'm not a big fan of Warcraft, honestly, I might give it a try if it was a TV series. The movie, just I had no interest in. But anyway, so we're going to close this out. So thank everybody for listening. If you have Apple Podcasts, please subscribe. Give us a 5-star review. Also, leave us comments. You can tweet at us. Also, check out our Instagram at Media Junkie Vids, and we also have a ton of other content going on. Mike, you have anything you want to plug this week?
Not really.
All right, cool. Mike had a ton of shirts out during Comic-Con, but he doesn't want to talk about those.
Well, no one bought them the first time, so I'm not going to try to pimp them out now.
All right, sounds good. You can interact with Jake on the at Fanboy Twitter account. Jake, you've been kind of getting that back up and running. How's that been?
Yeah. In case you didn't hear it when he cut out, it is just at Fanboy Fight Club. I'm trying to get it going again. It's slow going. Just kind of jumping on whatever Media Junkie talks about. But
Cool.
You can also find me on my personal Twitter, which I'm going to try to start using more, which is at @_GhostCross. That's just like it sounds.
Ghost like Casper, cross like Jesus.
Yeah, that's right.
Yes, because you
Throwback,
know I'm all about that.
Oh man, full circle.
That is my personality to a T.
I was just trying to make it easy for people to understand what it was. Oh man.
Oh,
All right.
shit.
So, Jamar, anything you want to talk about with Rogue Agents?
Hell yeah, man. Right before this show, we recorded episode 20. It has been
20
20 weeks of Rogue Agents, and the Division 2 is amazing. Mike's stupid.
And you guys aren't bored of Division yet? I mean, come on.
No, we just got a huge content drop with Title Update 5 and Episode 1, bringing 2 new missions and a bunch of other shit. If you're interested, listen to our show.
I'm kind of jonesing because I haven't played it in over a week, so I need to get on there since I've been gone. So
we can help you.
All right. Wes, anything else you want to talk about, Media Junkie?
No.
All right, cool. You can also check out Michael and myself on the Gimmick Minute Wrestling Podcast. You can tweet at us at Live Your Gimmick. And like I said, follow everything Media Junkie on Twitter at Media Junkie Vids. And hey, thank everybody for listening. I used to have a way that I would close out Fanboy Fight Club, and I'm going to try to get back to that. I didn't do it this week, but stay tuned. We'll have a fun kind of close to the show coming up in future episodes. So tune in a couple of weeks. We're going to have a new topic for you. We're going to try to maybe freshen it up a little bit, maybe get away from the property remakes and maybe do something a little bit different and try to get some good arguments and some good fights. Hope you guys enjoyed the show. Thank you for listening. Fanboys out.
Bye.